Well, welcome back to the Mojo podcast and welcome to episode 2. I hope you had a lovely week and that you enjoyed the first episode of series 2. It was an amazing reaction to Susie Pearl's very open and instructive conversation about creativity. Now on to this week, and there's a quote that has stuck with me for a long time since I first heard it used. A principle isn't really a principle until it costs you money. And today's Mojo podcast is all about having principles. It's about giving, about charity, and following this path certainly costs my guest some money as you're here. Jonny Lee is the founder and driving force behind Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, a charitable foundation creating opportunities and fundraising initiatives to enable the dance music industry to make a positive impact in support of children in crisis. Jonny is a fellow Ibiza resident. He's a dance music pioneer, a global traveller, taker of big risks in pursuit of what he believes in, and a bundle of positive energy. And you'll hear his mojo is in a good place, partly due to the successful culmination of one of his key projects of the year, Set for Love, which saw DJs from all over the world, from huge names like Carl Cox to bedroom enthusiasts, all playing for love, playing for free, and encouraging massive donations to do good and to support children in crisis all over the world. We talk about Jonny's path from being an acid house missionary, being a dance music pioneer in places like Thailand and Ibiza, and then the moment he realised he had to make some change to do more good and not leaving it to others. He talks about how he went from running a marathon to running global DJ marathons. He's driven by belief that he can make a difference, he can have impact, and he's always found creative ways to shine a light on the work the charity does. From putting on raves in the Houses of Parliament in the UK to climbing mountains to party at altitude. Actions over words are certainly Jonny's approach, and his belief has been mostly rewarded with magnetism, attracting the right partners, sponsors and stars to help him achieve the seemingly impossible. It's incredible what you can achieve when you really believe in what you're doing, it seems. I find Jonny high on life from recent success and high on a cliff overlooking the beautiful southeast coast of Ibiza. I love doing outside broadcast podcasts as you can really feel the location in your ears and you'll hear Ibiza literally calling to you. I know many of you are missing your trip here this summer, so this will briefly at least transport you to the White Isle. I hope you really love this episode, and please help more people discover the podcast by sharing it with friends, leaving a 5-star rating, and in an easy act of giving, please leave a short review. Over to my conversation with Jonny. So welcome back to the Mojo podcast, and we are back on location in the beautiful island of Ibiza, and my guest is going to tell us exactly where we are in just a second, but you'll hear in the background the cicadas, the noise of the sea, a little bit of the wind. Very few aeroplanes at the moment because we are recording this in late June, and we're coming out of lockdown here in Spain and across Europe and across the world, but still very little traffic in the air. But there is a very beautiful energy and vibrancy on the island right now, which is why I wanted to bring my guest today, Jonny Lee, the founder of Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, out to one of his favourite, what would you call this, Jonny? Is this a contemplation spot,
Absolutely,
a meditation spot?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, contemplation spot, yeah, spot on. That is exactly what it is, yeah.
And tell us where we are, and tell us, how are you doing today? How is your mojo today out of 10?
My mojo today is definitely 10 out of 10, you know, for numerous reasons, which no doubt we'll talk about. And this gorgeous place just adds to that. It's not far from Sacoleta, and Sacoleta is on the south coast, and it's where the first Phoenician settlement was, I think 600 BC or something like that. So, and if you follow the sort of coast around there, there's a peninsula, a point that splits up Sacoleta, and on the other side of it is Calajondal, and you just keep walking to this end point, and then you've got this sort of, I don't know, it's not well, it's sort of like a 360 view, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, but I mean, you've just got this epic view of the ocean looking over Playa d'Embossa, the airport, Cap d'Esfalco, Formentera, Esvedra, Escabels and Calajondal.
it is stunning, and we were just talking, but while we were walking up here, I've lived here for a couple of years, a lot less than Jonny. He's over 30 years here, but I've never been to this precise spot before, but it is absolutely stunning with these amazing 360 views, which you'll see on the pictures on the old Instagram. So your Mojo is 10 out of 10. Tell us about that. What's been going on?
Well, it's one of those moments where I've just finished and completed what just seems like an epic achievement with the charity. So it's a sort of a real personal high moment for, going through your own personal challenges to achieve what we've achieved. It's also a high moment for Last Night DJ as a team. So I'm sort of high on team spirit, and I'm equally high on human kindness and the amount of human kindness that we've been subjected to, and we've reached out to thousands of people across the world in over 100 countries, which have flooded us with acts of human kindness, playing music to raise funds to help others. So if you take a little bit of something out of all of those things, plus my daily practice and living on this beautiful island, it's all feels very good, very good. And I'm very fortunate that I've been blessed in this whole great pause, as it's known on this Mojo broadcast. I feel very blessed that I've had an incredible experience, and I feel very fortunate for that. And it's led to me to be in a very good headspace to help others.
Brilliant. So we're going to get into all the good stuff that the foundation Last Night DJ Saved My Life has achieved in the last 10 years. We're at a very key point in its life. It's 10-year anniversary, and you're just coming out of a major event called Set for Love, which we're going to talk about as well. So just in that, I really want to tease out, and you have already slightly, in terms of what Mojo means to you. And you talked about being blessed, you talked about working with a team, you talked about the feeling of love from others, giving from others. What does Mojo mean to you?
I'd say Mojo, I have different variants of Mojo, but I mean, I guess the most profound explanation of Mojo to me is when you're given signs from the universe in a way of synchronicities start happening around you, and your awareness is at a point where you recognize those, and life just seems to flow the way that you want it to flow. Something greater than yourself seems to be taking over, and you relax into that, and you recognize that that's happening. And these bizarre meetings, that some people would call coincidences, but if you look deeper into it, it's something more profound than that. And when that starts to happen more and more, and that reflects on your life or your work or whatever it may be, it gives you a mojo. It gives you this magical feeling that you're not on your own in this life. It might be you that's putting it out there and manifesting it, but it's when that starts to happen, it's so empowering. And so you could be down in the dumps and one thing just clicks into place. You meet that one right person, and you could come right out of the dumps and go straight up to number 10.
Right.
And that's sort of, for me, is like finding your mojo. It's like finding your path. You're on the right path again. Yeah. And you have those gentle reminders to remind you that you're on the right path.
So it sounds like a lot of Mojo for you is this awareness of being open to what's going on around you, not, as you said, calling things a coincidence and they are a synchronicity. These are things that are happening for a very good reason to the universe, and with the hope, with the love that something good comes back, and it does if you believe in it, and it comes to pass.
Yeah, and fortunately, I think we've got enough experience that we've sort of stuck our neck out quite a few times and claimed the ridiculous, just on a basis of belief, really, and it has happened each time it's happened. I mean, there's clearly some nail-biting moments, but then that's just part and parcel of it all.
So we're going to get into some of these amazing stories and achievements and challenges that you've taken on with the foundation. But before we do it, let's give people a bit of context about Last Night a DJ, how it came about, why you were called to do this, what it does. Give us the background.
Yes, okay, so I was here in Ibiza, and it was around about 2009, so it was probably approximately 11 years ago, and somebody put me up for the Great North Run. So you could say I ran into it, and I'd never been running ever up that point in my life. Dancing all night long for days on end, but never been physically sporty. And so I took on the challenge to do the Great North Run in the UK, and I trained here in Ibiza. Got to the Great North Run with 52,000 other people, and it was my first sort of charity anything really, bar donating something to charity. I'd not been involved in any events, so I sort of stood there on the starting line, all a little bit edgy, a little bit nervous, and then set off. And then, before you know it, you realise that on everybody's shirts, they're all supporting something, some charity. And in some cases, you've got people with little children and babies in incubators and clearly sick children and things like that on the back of people's T-shirts, because they're raising funds for children's charities or a particular child that needs some operation or whatever. And that's quite moving, because you could see this person who, it's not like everybody who enters those things are athletes. There might be somebody who's clearly overweight and yet is struggling along to do a marathon or a half marathon in aid of somebody else who's struggling for their life. And I just found that really quite overwhelmingly profound, the whole experience of seeing people challenging themselves to help others. And when I completed it, I was quite well trained actually. I was quite amazed by my result. I came about 1100 out of 52,000, which for my first run I thought that's pretty epic. And I didn't even go my fastest because I'd never run that distance, so I didn't want to burn out. Yeah. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, I'm like all of a sudden some runner. And so I came back on a high from that, and I'd actually raised funds for a cancer charity because my father passed away when he was 53. So that was the first charity I felt I wanted to support. Yeah. And I also felt I had that profound moment that I was doing it for somebody I knew, for my father. So I had the sort of, my dad on my back, sort of, yeah, come on son, you can do it kind of thing. It really brought a closer connection with me and him spiritually in that moment as well. And so obviously because I came, quite close to the front there, I was really pleased. I got back to Ibiza. I set up a post-marathon fundraising party because that just seemed a natural thing to do. A, to celebrate it, but B, to raise some more funds. So I found a few DJs and musician friends and venue owners. And within a week we'd put together this whole event gig and had a fantastic party. Raised, I think I pretty much almost doubled my fundraising, got another £1,500 or something like that. And everybody involved said, wow, that was a great event. We should do more of these kind of things. And that was a little bit of a light bulb moment. Right. Into thinking, I've not really thought about my experience in the world of club promotion and putting on parties and all that. I'd never used it to actually put on a charity event. So I sort of went on a bit of a quest there. I set up a production company called Follow Your Heart Productions. I started doing a few charity productions around this sort of environment and Green Heart here in Ibiza and raising funds to clean the beaches and things like that. And once again involving DJs and everything. And then that led me on to doing my own research into what the dance music industry, as it was claiming itself to be, because I was attending lots of dance music conferences like the International Music Summit here in Ibiza, where I'd sit and hear claims of this is a $7 billion industry, we are amazing, electronic music's taking over kind of thing, which, in one sense, because I was part of the birth of that, I think, wow, that's amazing. But then in closer inspection, to see what impact it was having as far as social responsibility and giving back was concerned, I could find very little evidence, and that really sort of, it was quite a poignant moment. It sort of shattered my belief system in this very thing that I'd believed in. I believed in music, and I believed very much in the sort of dance music, and that we were part of a movement. And because I was there at the beginning of the acid house era, let's say in sort of 87, 88, and that was very much about social change. So it didn't need to be rattling pots for charity or giving back to charity. It in itself, it was creating change, and a massive change, from people being violent to each other all over Britain, from city to city, having fights, from obviously the football hooligan thing was at its height and things like that. And here we were part of a movement that seemed to be full of empathy for your fellow man and woman, sister and brother, and no matter what race you were as well. Racial tension went out of the window. There was just no discrimination, and everybody seems to be one happy family, albeit slightly hedonistic. So parts of it were drug induced, other parts of it were not, but that definitely was a part of it. But then it almost seemed like I just X amount of years on, that'll have been whatever, 15 years on, more like 20 something years on, I've sort of come out of the haze of it myself. I'd stopped participating in taking things and all that, and maybe I'd just come down, right. And I'd come back down to reality, and I was checking it out, and I just thought, no, it can't be, I can't have been under such an illusion as that was just part of a cult, and we were just all being hedonists and pretending we were making a difference and hugging each other, and really we weren't doing anything other than just having a party.
So you felt a level of dissatisfaction with where the industry was, looking back, as you say, the social change that the pioneers of the industry, well, not even an industry back then, a scene had created, and you wanted to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just didn't sit comfortably with me at all, and I just wasn't prepared for that to be the final statement. That's all it is. It is just a pipe dream. It is just loads of hedonists doing nothing but just having a good party. And because I could see the potential, I've been on those dance floors, and I felt the energy of people hugging each other and the empathy on the dance floor, and some great conversations. And I just thought, if you could just bottle that energy up and put that to good use, there's got to be a way of turning that into positive action. And with it being an events-based industry, attaching that to charity just didn't seem so far-fetched, really, because charities tend to rely on charity events. Tends to be events what are the fundraising model for charities. Yeah. So I just thought, I'll just go out there and I'll just inspire some DJs and club promoters, and we'll just turn it into a big charity scene. It was the intention, I guess.
So what were all the great intentions and a lot of energy yourself bringing into it? What were some of the hurdles or barriers that you kind of ran into, or were there none? Was everyone just all embracing? Yeah, let's do this, Jonny. Let's raise a load of money.
I wish it was the second one. Although it's all been part of the journey. No, there were so many challenges, more challenges than what I thought. I think I was a bit naive to the amount of ego that's involved in the music industry, right. And it's all about me. And charity work is not about me, it's about selflessly giving to others. Right. And you don't necessarily want accreditation for giving, you just do it, and yes, okay, if it gets mentioned that you've done that, then so be it. There seems to be a lot of enthusiastic people wanting to be a part of it, like the idea of charity, possibly like the idea of being seen to be doing something, but didn't actually back it up with any action. Right, okay. So that's been a bit hedonistic once again. You're not really following through, you're just talking the talk. And when you look at the reasons why we were doing it, which at the time it was from environmental, humanitarian and social causes we were supporting, it could be as serious as we were trying to save people's lives. Hence the title, Last Night a DJ Saved My Life. So it was as serious as that. And so therefore you expected people to be a bit more serious about their involvement or their claims to be, I'll be a part of that. Okay, right, what are you going to do? And so, I guess we were naive to the fact that, I don't know what you would work it out, but I don't know, 9 out of 10 DJs who said they'd do something, only one had actively engaged, let's say, something like that. But, and a big but, you don't need many DJs to create change. We just had a few choice people who really understood it, who believed in music making a difference, and they were prepared to work at it and be a spokesperson for the charity and be an ambassador. We'd set this platform up. We set it up as a platform to inspire the dance music community, be it industry, be it promoters, be it record labels, be it DJs, or be it clubbers themselves, to give back. And we were just trying to put that bridge there so the charities had access to that sort of side of the music industry, and everybody within dance music had access to be able to give back, and we were sat somewhere in the middle, as a foundation.
So did you have to get it to was there a certain tipping point or even moment that you can reflect on that's when more was coming back than you were putting in? Did something happen?
I think we just had pivotal moments at the time, which probably comes back to the sort of Mojo thing, really. At points where you were like, this is flogging a dead horse. This is just not happening. I'm going personally bankrupt. I mean, I stopped any other income work because I had to go full time with it just to be committed to it. Right. And I couldn't get any income from it because who pays a charity wage? Initially it's all about making a difference. So you couldn't ask people, can you pay my wage first and then I'll make a difference? You've almost got to be raising funds to give away to these various causes to make the difference, to get people on your side, to then believe in you, to believe in the team, let's say.
So you personally put an awful lot on the line here then, in terms of
Absolutely.
Pausing your career and
yeah, and I was a family man as well. I'd got 2 kids and a house over here, and I literally put everything on hold. I borrowed £10,000 off a friend, and I probably went about 30,000 in debt to credit cards. Wow. At the time, just because I felt it was right. And then certain things had happened. There was a moment in Ibiza when our good friends Mark and Sarah from We Love at Space, and they opened the door to us fundraising on the guest list there. First season we just did one event, one Sunday, and it raised €6,000. The next season they did it throughout the season at all We Love spaces, and we raised over €30,000. And that was a real poignant moment, because it was like, no, this really can work. This is just one club in Ibiza on one night of the week for a season, and we raised 30,000. Now there's God knows how many other nights of the week, well, how many other clubs there are on the island, and there's 7 nights to a week, and then how many other clubs are there around the world? And if a small fraction of these clubs did something similar to that, you were talking potential of millions there.
Wow. So you started to get this traction, evidence that this could work. And in terms of what the charity, the foundation, was actually doing in terms of making a difference, what projects had you started to put in place?
Yeah, the sort of projects we sort of organically fell into, really. It was more where we were advised, or a friend of a friend had approached me and say, have you heard about this cause? And there was one cause in Brighton called Drop for Drop, and it was a charity that's building lots of freshwater wells, and they're 100% funded themselves. So if you give to them, they're already financing themselves, and the 100% of the funds are going straight to building the well. And it worked out at roughly £2,400 to build a freshwater well in India or Africa, which serves a whole community. for a minimum of 10 years. So in India there's over 1,000 people in communities, and in Africa about 350 people. But to change a whole community's life for £2,400 and just give them the fundamental things in life like fresh water, which keeps them away from waterborne diseases. It means girls get an education. There's so many other things. Birth rate goes down because girls with an education go from an average birth rate of 9 to 3. So the impacts socially and all these other things from giving somebody fresh water.
From one infrastructure project like a well in a community, all of this comes.
Yeah. And so that was one of the early missions, and putting smiles back on kids' faces. We were doing cleft palate operations in the Philippines, and that one was quite poignant, because in the sort of early days of the dance music scene, the smiley face was quite iconic. So we felt, we were putting smiles back on children's faces quite literally with these operations. So that was a big one. Nordhoff Robbins, the music therapy charity we partnered with. Obviously we were a believer in music, so that one seemed to make sense. And then over a period of time, we've sort of started to go more grassroots projects and working with charities, grassroots projects and charities on the ground in Africa, quite a lot in Uganda and Tanzania. Special needs children's home, street involved boys' homes and things like that. And that's been an amazing experience over the last few years, because I've actually gone over there to visit these places along with some of our team and things like that. And I remember that in 2017 was the first time I went to Africa, and it was the second time I'd actually visited a project. I think the first time was in India, and we visited a children's home. But when I went to Africa and visited this special needs children's home, and I went with our videographer. It was so moving being there, and when we arrived, you could see the house that we'd built. In like 6 weeks or something, a house that housed three single parent women with 4 special needs children. And there you could see it, and then we were given gifts of gratitude and words of gratitude from these women themselves, and it was a real moving moment, from the Maasai women. And it felt really humbling to know that we always knew we were making a difference, but when you actually visit the project and your integrity was so intact, because you felt, right, no, we really are making a difference because it's there. So my words when I came back from that trip and were able to deliver a couple of speeches to people who've invested in us, it felt so much more profound, because I was speaking from my truth of having seen it, rather than, yes, we're supporting this charity that that we trust, but no, it's like, we've visited this place, your hard-earned funds have built this place, I've seen the builders building it, and I've seen the women who are going to benefit from it, and the children I've seen placed within it, and I've seen their smiling faces and the benefit that your funds have done, really.
Seeing the difference that your charitable donation makes is, to some people, probably very important, but not everyone can actually go and feel it and see it and touch it. And there's an awful lot of charities in the world, and the vast majority are doing it for absolutely the right reasons, but we all know there are, I'm sure you've come across ones that maybe not all the funds are going where they should be going, and just one of those stories, it seems to me, really poisons the well in terms of people's attitudes towards charity. Were you mindful of that, of being, as you said, very integrity led in terms of last night at DJ?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our biggest decision was to try and steer away from the bigger named charities. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but they can't offer that personal relationship with your funds. You can't track it all the way and then them say, yeah, look, this is the children you've just helped. It just goes in a big pot. And whereas, with a bit more hard work and research, we could attach ourselves to small grassroots projects, which is all that the bigger charities are doing. They're just so big, they lose track where your funds have gone. whereas we're small enough as a charity to know where your funds have gone. If you give me £500 today and you say I want that to go to the special needs home in Tanzania, at any moment you're more than welcome to go and visit those children there, or get some information back from them and see what your funds have bought and things like that. And that felt the right thing to do. And I think we sort of felt that the dance music community are quite wide, as in we're quite switched on. You'd like to think that we've just got a little bit of a bounce in our step. We're not going to have the wool pulled over our ears. Certainly the pioneer people who were there at the beginning, because we were changing, so it was about social change. So we were doing the absolute opposite from getting the wool pulled over ourselves. We were making change happen. So there's a lot of those people who, their eyes were wide open, and we're not going to back something that you might be slightly unsure of. So we knew we were going into that arena of people.
Right, and I guess in the world that we're talking about, we are talking about brand names, individuals whose names are brands and their reputation matters. So if they're going to get involved in a charitable organisation, they've got to know this thing's legit. This is actually going to make a difference. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, when you're talking about the artists, you're responsible for that artist. So if we're claiming something, that what we're doing with the funds, and that isn't what's really happening, and that artist could be in a whole heap of everything. So we've been very mindful of that, and it's been great. It's been a great experience, and it's just so organically happened. We set off with no charity experience. I'd not worked with charities other than the one that I donated to from the marathon, and that was it. But over the years, we've worked with many charities now and many grassroots projects, and we've even started our own projects. And I'm so much more well informed of what makes a good project and what doesn't. And I think we offer something quite unique, a unique charity experience for people that support us. They really do have a personal experience with where their funds go and what they're doing with it. And that matters a lot, I think, to me and the team, really.
Because you mentioned, just there also at the beginning about, going into this, no experience, huge challenges up in front of you, but being driven on by this need, this burning desire to make change. Do you reflect where that came from for you? Even before you did the Great North Run and everything, is there anything in your life? I think this is what drives me. This is why I'm doing this.
I think a number of things. I mean, I always felt quite pioneering in certain ways, and music led me. And I was always somebody who, I'd call myself an acid house missionary. So I was always taking the music, the acid house scene, to far-fetched places around the world, caves in the Himalayas, and putting on parties, and was part of the whole birth of the full moon parties in Koh Phangan, and I had a venue there in the early 90s, and the first decks in Southeast Asia, and putting on parties in Hong Kong, and being there at the forefront of it. And I found something really rewarding about that, spreading this musical message. But as I said, as soon as I was aware that maybe that's all that was, it needs some more purpose behind it. I think, a sort of passion to help others probably comes from me feeling very fortunate to have lived a life that I've wanted to live, really, and been fortunate. I was brought up in a really good family. I've had great experiences. I was brought to Ibiza from the age of 2. So I witnessed this beautiful island and had many golden times here with both my parents. I was brought up in Derbyshire, beautiful countryside. A really good start, let's say. And I think that certainly led to me having great aspirations and being able to just do what I want to do. Whether I've had finance, I've certainly not had loads of finances around me throughout my life, but that's not dictated me as far as what I can and can't do. I've done some amazing journeys and adventures and things like that, just living on my wits a lot of the time. But I can understand how that would be a lot more difficult from somebody that's come from a troubled background. And and had a lot more hardship and things like that. So, you know, it feels right for me to give back as much as I can to help children in difficult circumstances, just to give them, and let's bring it back to Mojo, to try and give them a chance to get their mojo back. You know, I think it's a lot harder position to be in when you're in some of these situations that some of these kids have gone through in some of the projects. Certainly the street involved boys in Tanzania, you know, there's a lot of male prostitution and just some really dark stuff that's going on. That's awful, and you would think, wow, I don't know, you know, they must be so traumatised. How are they going to function after that? But they do. They're really resilient. A lot of these young boys are resilient, and yes, they've gone through massive trauma, but it's not the end. It can be reversed, you know, and we've given them things like musical instruments and a set of decks so they can get creative, and then they can realise their own power through creativity. It's not about getting a full-time education. You know, that'll just start them off, and then some of them have started off on that and gone to education, and yeah, it's you're just giving them that moment to get on that Mojo ladder. And I think once they're on that, then it'll sort of, it sort of starts to self-fulfill itself, doesn't it?
It sounds to me like there's something about belief in that you've got belief in your ability to make a difference, and you create some belief in them. You said I'm not going to change everything in your world and your life, because we can't do that as a charity. But if we do one thing, and you create some belief in yourself that your resilience and your confidence increases, and maybe, just maybe, it can lift you out of this, as you say, very dark situation that a lot of the people involved in your charities probably find themselves. Is that fair, that belief is important?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think possibly giving individuals a belief that they can help somebody else also. You know, that they're not so vulnerable that they're just somebody who has to receive help and they've got no use other than just receiving help. You know, we've all, whatever situation you're in, you can help somebody else. There's always somebody worse off than you. I think by the act and the arts of giving, as we suggest, then that's when you can get this feeling of self-worth as soon as you start to give back to somebody else.
And on the belief front as well, tell us maybe one of the stories of, you've done some with the charity, some epic adventures, challenges that you've taken on. The world's highest DJ set, was that one of them that comes to mind?
Yep, that's one of the maddest ones. Yeah. Yes. So that started because I was in Tanzania, and we were supporting the special needs children's home, which looks out at the mountain Kilimanjaro, which is the world's highest freestanding mountain, and gets climbed each year by thousands of people, and a lot of those people do it for charity because it makes sense to do that. So yeah, that led itself to, right, okay, we're going to climb the mountain and we'll do it for charity. But rather than just climb the mountain, no, as an acid house missionary, that's not good enough. I'm going to have to do something far more crazy than that. So decided to enrol Nightmares on Wax, George, another Ibiza resident, who's been a phenomenal ambassador throughout our history. And I thought I'd ask him to come up there with me and a team to try to break the record for the world's highest DJ set.
As you do.
As you do. Yeah. How are we going to do it? Not too sure. But we put the claim out there that's what we were going to do. Got it all over the press. Told everybody that's what we were going to do. How are you going to get your speakers up there? Don't know. And the truth is, like, literally until 3 weeks before we went, you know, I didn't have the answers to some of these burdening potential problems. And yeah, it just came together, and the right people came in at the right moment, the right sponsors came in, and we got the sound system, which was a battery powered Bluetooth speaker, the world's loudest, perfect promotion for the company that make it. It's all about they're taking a party anywhere, and we were taking it anywhere. They thought it was a gift from heaven that somebody was taking their speaker to break the world record for the highest set.
Back to your synchronicity point, right? About coming together.
Absolutely like that. Yeah, absolutely like that. And that company gave us sponsorship to also go in the funding pot. We raised over £70,000 to build a special needs children's home for 50 children at the base of Kilimanjaro there. And Shovel, the musician from M People, he was with us as well. And we had about 24 people. We peaked on September the 21st, which is International Day of Peace.
And what is that peak? How high is that? It's
5,895 metres.
Wow.
Super high.
Did you get any altitude sickness going on when you were
I personally didn't. I mean, you feel a bit weak. There was a few other people that did have to be taken down, and we've got a video clip of us all dancing around. We went to the summit and then we came a bit lower down into the crater where we got permission from the government to do this party. And there was about 40 of us partying with the porters and that. And on camera, you can see the porters and George DJing and a few of us dancing around. And off camera, there's a few people horizontal with oxygen bottles. Gasping for air, and us sort of questioning, is this the right idea? But we all safely made it back down, and we had a great laugh and an amazing experience. Yeah. We even took, this was quite beautiful, we took one of the boys, young adult at the time, who was probably 22, called Modest, from the street involved boys' home. And he was one of the early boys that were in there and was getting the other boys off the street as well. So he was a real hero to a lot of the young boys. And he'd been looking at Kilimanjaro since he was 9 years old and dreaming about going up there. And he was also at the time dreaming to be a DJ, and we brought him over DJ equipment, and we were teaching him music production and things. And so we decided we wanted to take him to the summit with us. So we journeyed with him, and it was a real adventure talking to him and about his life and the hardships, and it was incredible to see how this young man changed, along the way, and that experience in his own country and his own doorstep, looking at that mountain and not being able to ever be able to afford going up there, or how was he going to go up there? And here he was going up there with a DJ, which was a dream anyway. He wanted to be around the DJs.
Things coming together.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful story. And I also love about that endeavour, obviously amazing for promotion for the charity, but the fact you were raising funds for a charity that sat at the foot of the mountain you were climbing, I think is beautiful. Because obviously, you said, lots of people climb Kilimanjaro every year. It's very physically demanding. It's very tough. They raise lots of funds for very good charities. But how many of those charities are in Tanzania, where the mountain sits? Very, very, very few. So I personally find there's something very profound about you doing it for a charity that sat at the base of the mountain.
Yeah, well spotted. Because, that was our thoughts. Obviously, we were already working with this charity, so one led to the other. But it did lead me to question other charity challenges and how many of them who were climbing. There's about 20,000 people or something, I think, that climb it each year. How many of those were giving anything back to the local community? Even if you were doing it for cancer research, does 10% stay there? No, none. Most of it, none. And that just seems a bit hard when, there's a lot of people in some severe hardship there, and it just felt the right thing to do, really, to leave a footprint behind there with the local people of the mountain that you've climbed.
And now the sort of this sense of legacy, footprint, as you say, and thinking forward. So I've got a question for you. You're just as you say, you've just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, and we talked about just some of the amazing things that you've achieved for children in crisis all over the world. And I'll put links to the website so people can go and have a look and hopefully get involved and donate as well. But I'd like to ask you, if we were sitting here, and hopefully we will be, in 10 years' time, and you're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Last Night a DJ, what would you like to reflect back on that you've achieved?
I would like to reflect back on that, from starting off at a period when there was very little social responsibility and the dance music community giving back, And in 20 years or 10 years from now, I would like to see that is just a given, that, most promoters, most DJs, most venues at some point are all supporting something of social value. That's just a given. In an industry that's event-based, there's no excuse for not doing something for charity at some point. And I think that is happening now. It's fantastic. In fact, in this lockdown period where, unfortunately, the music industry and club industry is in tatters as far as nobody can go clubbing. So DJs are sat at home, for want of a better word. In some cases, are producing music. But many of them have lent themselves to charitable causes, and lots of online streaming, and thousands, if not millions, has been raised over this last period, 3-month period, more than ever. In the last 3 months, probably more than has ever been raised in the last 10 years. And it's inspired lots more people, and lots more people are a part of that, and including ourselves who launched Set for Love. So it's just jumped up a notch. So I'm over the moon, and everybody in our organisation are over the moon, because it's just fast-tracked our message that we wanted to get out there, that the industry needs to give back, and it's risen up to that, and it's given more than ever, and that's a real positive impact. So I can only imagine in 10 years' time from now, we'll be looking back, and it'll be hard to spot somebody who's not doing something to help others.
That's a great aspiration to have, and hopefully, as you say, you've started it in great direction. You've laid amazing foundations, done incredible work, and let's hope there's lots more of that. And as you say, it becomes much more habitual, much more everyday. And as you say, the art of giving just becomes easier, and just more of our everyday existence when we're going out to enjoy ourselves, going out to party, club, dance, and as you say, be with other people, which we're all looking forward to doing more of after as lockdown comes to a close. Jonny, just before we close, just you probably hear the cicadas here have just kicked off again. It's got nice and loud. I always love to get a sense of, and we talked a little bit at the beginning about Mojo, and you mentioned daily practice. Are there other things that you're doing that you need to do on a daily basis to really keep your mojo, which today is that amazing 10 out of 10, to keep it there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A new one for me, which I'm always developing these practices. I think in the great pause, I've put a lot of time and effort into changing quite a number of things. One of those things is getting up for sunrise every day. Witnessing that at whatever time. I'm currently sort of part of the 5 a.m. club. I'm trying to get myself up around about 5:15, and then I get down to the beach for around about 6 o'clock, and the sunrise is at 6:30. So wherever possible to witness a sunrise, I think is epic. If it can't be every day, it doesn't matter, but even if it's just once, even if it's once a month, just see that as a special moment, as special as the sunset as well. I'm a sunset and sunrise worshipper. I love it. I love that moment in nature when it's it's different every single day, and I get something from that. So that is at the top of my list, along with meditation. I've practiced a lot of meditation in this last 2 years, which has helped hugely in keeping a sense of calm and just finding stillness in a very busy work timetable sometimes, and I can get carried away because I'm passionate about the work I do. I can just work. Right. And although I enjoy that work, you can't see the woods for the trees at times. And meditation's that kind of tool which makes it feel okay to stop. And then when you stop, all the good stuff starts to come out, the good ideas, the fast tracking, if I do it like that, I'm going to save all that time. And so you come up with these genius ways that save you loads of time. So it's better to stop and stand still, and obviously this great pause has been a great example of that for lots of people who've paused their lives, and hopefully for a number of them, they will have had some great intuitive thoughts and ways forward to better themselves and their families' lives and things like that. Physical exercise, I go running most days. If it's not running, I'm cycling. And I'm swimming pretty much every day. I have a 20-minute swim in the ocean. So I'm a firm believer of exercise. That's got me through, if anything's got me through my darkest times in this last 11, 12 years, has been the exercise. You know, and when I joined up to do that marathon, and that was the first time I started exercising, I never looked back. You know, I went from marathon to marathon to marathon and ultra marathon and all these other things. And and when I've hit some dark times, getting up out early, you know, you wake up with a head full of darkness and you set off running, and within 20 minutes that's gone, and you come back on top of it. You know, and all those problems, you've sort of either got solutions for them, or it just doesn't feel like a problem anymore.
I think it's wonderful, the human ability you can change your state. And when you understand that I am in control of my state, that as long as these, as you say, for you, some new habits and some old ones, you put those together, the result of that, as it sounds like you're saying, from a Mojo point of view, is absolutely unstoppable and really gets it in flow. Jonny, just a fantastic conversation. Thank you for your time. I know it's been a very busy time for the charity, and thank you for bringing me to this amazing spot on our island home of Ibiza. It's been a wonderful conversation about the art of giving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard, and it's amazing to be invited onto such a positive show all about the Mojo, and yeah, without a doubt it's inspired me listening to your shows and encouraging other people of how to get their Mojo, and hopefully I've added a little bit to that. And if anybody wants to get involved in the charity, please go and look at the website, lastnightadj.savemylife.org, and it's not just about DJs. It's literally anybody can get involved. That's just the title of the charity. So yeah, anybody, whether you're a music lover or not, but yeah, it's well worth a look.
Well, I think it's a great name for a charity, which comes with its own soundtrack and an amazing song, which we'd love to play, but I think rights restrictions mean that we can't. But you know the one I'm talking about. Thanks again, Jonny.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Big love.
Well, I loved that conversation with Jonny, and as you can see, I did find a version of that song that I could use. And how beautiful was that? Recorded by Jonny. It's the Bright Angel School in Uganda, one of the projects that Last Night DJ Save My Life supports. And you can imagine how high your mojo would be after all the work you've done, and then feeling that appreciation coming back from the people you're supporting. So I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and that the cicadas that you heard towards the end there were evocative and not annoying. But I do really love recording in nature, so you can really hear, as I said, Ibiza pouring through the microphone, hopefully into your ears. My main takeout goes back to Jonny's description of Mojo for him, being this synchronicity that occurs just when you need it to happen. And many people do define Mojo as an attraction, a magnetism. And for me, Jonny achieves this attraction to people he needs to help him to further the cause due to his determination and belief in what he's doing. That's the energy that creates the coming together of people and opportunities. Good things happen to good people with good intentions. And I just love Modest's story, the fact that he could climb this mountain, Kilimanjaro, that he spent his whole life looking out on, meet people that inspire him, and take that inspiration into what he does every day to help more and more boys around him in his environment. This sense that helping one person can help so many more people. Pass it on. Perhaps that is the art of giving. Next week on the Mojo podcast, my guest is Ken Okorafor, aka The Humble Penny, and we talk about his mission to help more people find their mojo through financial independence. And in line with Jonny's story, you'll hear much more about taking risks in pursuit of what you really believe in. It's a great conversation, and I hope you can join me. Now, the best way to do that is to subscribe so you'll get a notification when the episode is released. Please also leave a 5-star rating, and if you enjoyed listening to this week's episode, please do leave a short review on Apple Podcasts, as that really helps more people discover the Mojo podcast. Okay, until next week, I hope your mojo continues to flow.